Flip17 is changing. But first, here's the math. Well, so far since we started this whole project, $175 have been invested. Of the 5 reselling platforms, only 3 were effective: Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, and eBay, for a total of $604. That's over 300% profit. Things I've acquired along the way. Definitely got some good deals on some school clothes for the kids, name brand at that. Got some shoes for myself, a bunch of collections, leftover stuff from yard sailing, a chainsaw. Foreshadow much? Into it. So, how would you say you got into the used car business? Well, I began by learning how to repair rusted and sheet metal damaged old cars where the owner just wanted to get the car through state inspections. Then, through poor judging on my own part, in retrospect, I began to paint cars for fellow employees. I say this because if it bubbled or faded, then it was my fault. Eventually, I had enough money saved up to buy my own wrecks, called R Title Cars. Fascinating, yeah. R Title Cars, reconstructed or rebuildable in the industry. Well, this was before the days of the internet, so how did you find the cars you decided to rebuild back then? Good question. These cars came available in the following manner. I would see ads in the Auto Connection or weekly papers available at any convenience store that were full of classified ads. Insurance companies would pay off totaled wrecks and collect them until they had enough for an auction. This was known as the salvage auction, where only salvage dealers, who were usually body shop guys, paid for a license to bid on the wrecks. These guys would bid on more cars than they expected to win. However, if they did win all the cars they bid on, they had to buy them all or pay a fine and get kicked out of the auction pool permanently. This is where I came in. I'd see the ad in the papers. They'd sell them to me at cost to recoup the cash, and with a salvage certificate, there was no paperwork necessary to transfer the car to me. When I finished building the cars, I took the pictures of the before and after, along with a description of the build process, and that got signed off by a state-certified inspection mechanic. And then the whole package got sent to the state. If they approved, they sent back a title with a big reconstructed stamp on the face so that any future buyer would know what they were buying. Fascinating. How would you know what to price them at? The way I knew how to set the price was because I had a friend at work in the purchasing department who had access to the car dealer black book. If it was published weekly at the auctions in a 3-state area, so I knew wholesale prices. Dealers buy at wholesale prices and sell at retail or higher, so I had to sell at less than wholesale on our title cars. Was there something in particular that you felt that was easiest to work on, or something you fell into a groove with? I learned very early on to deal in Chrysler products because they were inexpensive, fairly reliable, and parents would buy an R-Title car for a kid at less than wholesale, knowing that a kid would most likely wreck their first car anyway. This is, by the way, almost always turning out to be the case. Almost every turbo-powered car that I ever bought still had an ID in the glove box that belonged to a kid, and many had only been through a tank of gas or two by the odometer. As odd as this may seem, this made the sale to the next parents even easier. Did you consider what you were doing a lump profit, or was it more like a dollar per hour thing? Controlling profit was never predictable. Some cars were more time consuming than expected, and some were easy. Some yielded $10 an hour, and a lucky car would yield $40 an hour, so you took the good with the bad and kept on rolling. Okay, well, was there a particular season that you sold more cars in? with cars, there was no season, and the cars I sold appealed mostly to working class folks. This was long before Facebook or eBay, so was probably a little longer on response time. You had to get used to people saying they were coming to look and not show up. What would you consider your luckiest scenario you came across in art titles and your most unlucky? Well, I'd have to say the most unlucky was when somebody would try to hide a flood car or a fire in the engine compartment. Those situations are bad news, even though they look easy to a body man. I'd say the best stroke of luck would be a side swipe that didn't require a frame pull and a parts car for the same color. This would be known as gravy. Alright, thank you. Can I get a selfie with you? Yeah, you already have your arm over my shoulder. So the first thing that I would say is that yard sales promote family bonding and are a great way to, one, acquire face-to-face sales experience, which you do not get from reselling platforms. So it's kind of a way to test your merit also against, I don't want to say the word merit, but like your skill set compared to other people, and see, basically the way people used to do it back in the day. It's a great way to get kids' clothes cheap for school, and yard sales, unlike any or other types of sales like auctions and stuff, have an appeal because they have that diamond in the rough quality or opportunity, whereas somebody who works for like an auction hall or something like that probably has already been trained on what to look for, and a lot of times they kind of scalp things. So yard sales are like the last wild frontier when it comes to reselling, at least when it comes to purchasing those items. What else have I learned reselling? eBay has the biggest reach, I found, whereas Facebook Marketplace is a lot of people that may know you, and or is a place where big items can be sold. And when I'm saying big, I'm saying larger than 50 pounds, or things that would be cumbersome or have a large shipping weight. I also found personally that when you pay for shipping, people buy a little bit more readily.
How about that?
Let's see, Mercari I found the easiest to navigate and to post listings, which for me was important because I'm a family man and I didn't necessarily have the time that I even spent to do that, but, let's see, alright, so here's some of the things that I found that all platforms actually have in common. Things that are still in their original plastic cells. Doesn't matter how old it is, it could be from the 80s or 90s or whenever. If it's in the plastic, it's probably still going to sell. What else? Branding. So like, items of a particular brand sell better than others. Under Armour, for example. In my own personal opinion, what I found was Nintendo was the best seller. Nike followed Nintendo for me, and about 90% of my sales total were the brand Nintendo. There were some shoot-offs that were video game related, like Sony and other system components that I sold that were in the same genre, but the specific brand Nintendo sold well. The specific brand Nike sold well. Under Armour sold well. So keeping the brand of an item in mind, or the specific brand, is important. And there's a time for selling certain items. I think I've just barely missed out on the baseball, softball opportunity, and maybe I missed out on the football opportunity already, and it's late August, it's about to be September, so, but now's a good time to start looking forward to selling stuff for Halloween, and then Thanksgiving, and then, go right down the line, Christmas, blah, blah, blah. But there's a season for selling, and if you miss it, you have to wait a whole nother year for that. And so also what I realized, and mind you, I'm still very novice at all this, if you're going to get serious about reselling, and that's something that you want to do for a living, You better understand the sell-through rate. I don't know if there's such a thing as a perfect item. I don't know if I'm even going to make the 200% profit margin that I need to. But what I do know from my reselling and interview experience is that there is one item in particular I really want to try and flip. And it is e-bikes. So now that we have our item picked out, we can build something uniform with consistency so that the product can thrive. We also are going to be getting away from reselling, and the opportunity for financial growth is amazing. Okay, we'll see you next time.